Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's October 13th. This will be our chart listing for the day, and what a wild and crazy day we had. Um, you can see this bar. Let me zoom in here, just make this a little bigger. You can see this bar right here, how crazy it is. Really large bar. I mean, we've had some bigger bars, I guess. Maybe this was bigger. But the way this played out, we opened here, traded all the way down to here, which was 100 points almost. And then from that point all the way back to the highs was 200 points. So there was 300 points of movement in this day, which is relatively impressive. Let's just see what this day was. See, that day was 200 and something. So this day, if you look at the entire move, it's much bigger because it was like I said, it was 100 points down and then 200 points back up almost. So crazy day. It looks like a reversal day. Whether or not we'll get some follow through, we'll have to see. The market was very oversold, and this was a news item that drove this down. And generally, the market will take those news items back, reset, and then go from there. Well, today it just once we reversed, it kept going. But I just think um, people will probably be calling this a capitulation day, and maybe it is. But my guess is we were just overdue for a bounce because I mean, when we're way down here, you can see anything really between this purple line and this brown line, you start to get oversold. And this thing's, I mean, you can see we've gotten so far down below that brown line that we're severely oversold. So it's no surprise that after a news item that probably drove the market emotionally lower much further than it should have gone in one move, that it takes it back. And then once the rally starts, people, once it starts going higher, people start short, they start short covering because of this, people are scared this might be a bottom, and it could be. My guess is it's not, but I think it's just a bounce in a bear market personally. Uh, we could rally for a little bit here, just like, I mean, hopefully, I mean, it'd be nice if we get another rally like this and get a chance to recover some of this before we go lower again. But I just don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll just have to see. We haven't really, if we go back up here without touching this lower side, that means we're probably going to get a break and go higher here. So I still think we got room to the downside based on looking at this chart. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, crazy day, and you can see right here this big reversal type bar that opened and traded way down 100 points and then recovered and recovered 200 points. We sold off from the highs, not by much considering the size of that bar, but I mean already in the overnight we're still trading higher, but we'll see what happens. I mean, we could rally for a day or two. We'll just have to see. But let's flip over to the intraday chart, get through the charts, and wrap up our day and wrap up our week, actually, because this is Thursday. No chart lessons on Fridays. So let's flip over there to the 2000 tick chart and take a look. And here it is. And early on, this just like a humongous drop. But now in the big picture, after this 200-point rally, this just it looks like a minor blip on the screen. But you can see this whole day before looked like a sideways. They look like sideways days. I mean, that's how much volatility we had today. So quite a day. And we've got a two-tiered channel here, in my opinion. You really almost had to trade the shorter term stuff because we didn't get back to this trend line again until after hours. You can see looks like we're bouncing off that trend line in the after hours. So I still think that trend line is valid as of this point. But mostly short early on and then mostly long after that point. And there's a few green ones in here, but there's probably a bunch more you could argue for to be green. I mean, there's so many trades here that I just marked almost the sure things. There's a few green ones I marked that you could swing either way, possibly. And there's probably some more green ones that I didn't get to because there's just so many trades here that And most of them are really solid setups that you should be able to see and take for the most part. This big move here was a news item, and again, it was the inflation, the core CPI and the CPI news uh, coming in much crazier. I guess there's no real slack um, in the inflation numbers yet, so you probably should be flat going into this. If you are brave and you had time to get in this trade right here, you might take it. I marked it green. It's a failed breakout, but notice the channel coming up. You got an overshoot, which led to a break and a move to a new high. And then when that broke lower on the news, whew, off it's gone. If you could catch that, I mean, if you just rode that down to the first bar that broke higher and you were out right there, that's on one contract that's 87 points. That's $4,300. And if you had a couple of 4 or 5 runners going there, I mean, a lot of people would be happy to make that kind of money in a year, much less in a day. So anyway, I don't recommend you trying to trade these news items, but this one was not too crazy. It broke out and failed, and I mean, I don't know if you honestly, I don't know. It's probably you had to be really quick here, so I don't know if you could catch it or not. I mean, you might have by the time you got filled, you might have been down here, but it wouldn't have mattered. And somebody did send me something from Ninja Trader. I guess Ninja Trader backed off of their full margins and are only charging 4 times the margin now, so it would have been $2,000. I mean, some of you can probably trade that now. So if you could trade that and you got in it, congratulations to you because you probably made a month's salary, maybe even a year's salary for a lot of people. So that would have been a wonderful trade to catch. So anyway, we dropped down here, and once we bottomed out here, it kind of gets back to normal. And notice you got a double bottom here, and you get a first entry, and you get a second entry. You can't enter there, but then you get this lower high, very bearish bar. Promise you, you're going to retest that low. And what I did was I drew this trend line off these lows and swung it over here. You can see this is working. I worked it off those lows. I just brought it down here and put it in there, and then I think I ended up flip-flopping it later, and then I drug this to right here, and it kind of gives you where to look for. I think right here you're fine because you're still playing. You could look at this as a spike in channel here as well. It still works out the same no matter how you played it, but there's a spike in channel there as well. We'll color that one just so people can see it. And you get the break either way, and you're probably going to move to a new low. But you also get a second entry here. If this was a little too early, you didn't like it, the lower high, you work up and, or at least I thought. Oh no, it's not a second entry. I treated this like a first entry, second entry failure. But you can clearly see the 2 legs up, and it's right off the key entry point. That's why I like that one. There's a lower high here, but it's starting to go sideways there, so I'm not crazy about those. You might have taken this one as well, because you could argue that there's a 1, 2, 3 triple test. So there's one that you could argue to be at least green, and you can see how bearish that is and how quick it dropped to a new low, and then we started higher. I wouldn't go long here. This is not much of a rally. You're coming up, you get a close. It looks like you get a close outside here, but it's not. It's hard to know if that's a convincing close, but by the time it gets here, it looks like it is. You make a new high. You drop down, you try to go higher once, twice, and that's also a first entry, second entry. So there's where'd it go? You can clearly see if you back out there where you can see it. I mean, those bars look tiny, but they're bigger than you think they are because it's just so much price action. That's actually a 16 tick bar. So you can clearly see first entry, second entry, and you're looking for a new low on this at a minimum, and you may get a second leg down, kind of like this move here to the new low or whatever when you got the break. I didn't measure them, but if you measure them, they're probably going to be similar. I'd measure it like this first. And there it is. Basically a perfect measured move before we try to work sideways. Again, I wouldn't be trying to buy anything yet. And you can see we're just kind of working sideways. Originally, I would have had this right here. I ended up moving it up once we got the closes outside, or these higher closes here. But anyway, we're working sideways. You get a failed breakout, then you get a lower high right here. And it actually is a big bearish bar right off that resistance support line. You might have traded this on the engulfing bar, but I wouldn't have any problem going short there. There's plenty of room back down here to the lows, and this thing still has a very bearish overtone to it. You could probably argue that's a failure, but in this congestion, you don't want to look for that. Of course, it fails out the bottom. Some days I'd say maybe you buy that. Not today. Even though there's a measured move, I wouldn't buy that because we could end up with a measured leg down like that. I knew that would probably be too much today, but that's kind of what follows. So you couldn't rule out that we wouldn't get that. But then you got this trend line working here. I ended up having to widen it considerably. Originally, I think I had it right along here, but it bounces, and then you can see we're still back in this channel. There's a lower high here and a reversal right here. I didn't mark this one because of the inside bar. It's another one. You could probably argue for it. We'll make it green. There's a bunch of them, so I'm just going to kind of skip over them so we can get through all these trades. And it's real tempting to go long right there, and it would have worked, but look at all that congestion. Don't risk that when it's bearish. Even though we got this channel working down and we're probably coming back to the high side, don't risk buying here. You get a close outside new high and you're working lower, and then it bounces, and this kind of proves out this trend line is valid, but you don't know which one of these trend lines is going to win out, so it's really way too early to go long or anything, and I think you just about have to watch this one. And of course you get two legs back. There's a second entry long. Technically it's not because you did break higher there, so really your second entry's here, and but this is your close outside new low, and you got a higher low here, but that looks a little sideways congested. But when it pushes up and pulls back and gives you the failure, so when it breaks higher right there, it's a failure. I like going long there. Quick easy scalp, and then you're just chopping sideways again. So it finally breaks higher, comes back. It's just a first entry and still inside the channel. You get a second entry here, but not a very good signal bar. And so now you're just looking for a new high, and you don't really get anything else, and then you're rocketing lower. And again, I'm still nervous about going short here at this point. Now I'm getting nervous about going short because this is a pretty good rally. And your trend line's way down here. So at this point, I thought the line was up here, and you just had to keep moving it because this thing got stronger. But your trend line, your original trend line that you set way back here before it ever even started up is still valid. Let's zoom back in here because it's just so hard to see. But you get two legs back here, and you get a reversal, and that's a nice reversal right there. We've talked about that. It kind of chops sideways. You get your close outside. It finally makes a new high, and then you're coming down. And again, I just don't think you want to go short, period. So you get your close outside, moves down, and there's a second entry right there. It wasn't back to the key entry point, but I went back and forth. You could argue this to be green maybe, but I liked it just because it's a second entry and it's clearly a new low, and you're so far away from the EMA. And then you get a higher low here, which that one's definitely blue. This one it's real close. You could argue for that to be green. I like this one. It actually breaks lower and turns up. I don't think I would trade it on the engulfing bar because it could fade back down to the trend line, but when it breaks higher there, I like going long. You could almost argue that's a reversal, but that really looks too sideways. So again, that's another one you could argue to be green. And then you get the close outside new high, and then you're moving down, close outside new low, and you get a second entry here. I marked this one green because I think this broke higher and then turned down. I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember. I don't know if I was watching the chart at this exact second. This is not a trade I took, but um, I think it broke higher first and then turned down and trapped people and then turned back up. And I don't know that I'd trade that on. It's a triple test. I definitely I wouldn't be afraid to trade this, but if you do, your stop has to go below the previous low, which is way over here. So you're not really risking a whole lot more to take that on the engulfing bar. So and if you wait till this closes, it's way up here, but you're probably and you really have to go long above this bar. So I think that changes it. So I think the only way you really could trade this is if it broke higher first and turned down, and then you caught it on the way back through. I don't think you really want to trade this way up here. You really can't because you have to trade the inside bar. So hope that's clear. But if you wait a few minutes, you get a first entry short, second entry short that fails. Again, it's an engulfing bar, but I wouldn't be afraid to trade this one after it closed and breaks higher. I like it. I like waiting for this to close, and if it breaks higher, we're probably going on up because it's probably trapped people. It comes back again here, and that's just a first entry, but then you get a second entry with a nice bar. Again, I don't know if I trade that on an engulfing bar. Just wait till it closes, and if it closes decent, which it does, go along with it. And you might even argue that's a reversal, but there's not much room to that high, and we didn't go much higher than here, so you could get trapped there. Just wait. Runs up to the high, comes down, get a break, and right there again, before you make a new high on this channel, you get a failed second entry short. Notice the new low, first entry, second entry. Again, you get an engulfing bar. Just wait on it to close. Runs up, makes a new high, and then you're got your short-term trend down, runs down, close outside, tries to make a new low and can't. And this is when you know this is a strong trend. When you start to see these little bitty bars, very shallow corrections, it's already looking like it back here. But some of these corrections are bigger than you think they are because we're zoomed in, so we're zoomed out so far to see the chart. But right here you start to see, even while we're zoomed out, you start to get these little bitty bars. See, that bar is 8 ticks. Your correction there's 11 ticks. This is when you know you got a really strong trend. So technically, anything that comes back to the trend line that gives you a setup or a green bar, you just about can take it. And so there's a shorter term trend here as well. Close outside new high then correction, but then you get this bigger channel as well. And here you're coming down, you get a first entry, you pull back and you get a second entry. You pull back, you get a reversal. That's the reason, even though it's not a very good signal bar. Notice the gap there, and that goes right through it. That tells you it's probably correct. You might even take that one. I mean, it's 11 ticks, and you see what happens. I mean, you might even take that trade. You actually get a close outside. Then you run higher and you come back, and you get a first entry, second entry. Since that's a failure, and the key entry point still holding, I like going long there. That's the biggest correction we saw in this whole thing, though. And then it's off again, runs up here, same thing. And this one, you've already had your break, close outside, and 2 legs up. And I think it's more than 2 measured legs. If you measure from here, you can see you got your measured. And it might actually be from here. So you can measure it both ways. Either way, you can see you pretty much top out at a measured, close enough to a measured move, and then you're moving down. So I'd be real careful here. It's too congested. There's nothing there I like. Drops down, but you also have this channel moving down. Somehow I've moved this, I guess. This is another one that I drew it off the lows and then pulled it up to kind of get an idea. Then you get the close outside, new low. You can tell this one's moving from the Opposite side, unfortunately. Let's do this. Let's move it over to where this would be the midline. It doesn't really fit. I mean, maybe that fits. Um, anyway, I had it like this earlier. I drew this line off the lows, then pulled this one up. And it works there. You get a close outside, move to a new low, and then we reverse. Um, this is a higher low, not back to the EMA. Maybe you take that, but I'd probably want to wait on a reversal, which comes here. Now you know if it goes higher, you're probably going higher. There's another higher low here, but that looks a little congested. Comes back, you get a bounce at this same spot again, and then it tries to come back again, and you get a triple test right there. And I guess you could argue that's a first entry, second entry as well. So it's a second entry long, it's a triple test, it's a nice signal bar. It does look a little congested, but you can clearly see with that triple test and the second entry, there's plenty of room back up here, even if it's going to turn. Even if this is a little range, you got room to trade it. Just even if you drew it like that, you still got room to trade it. And this thing takes off again, and once again you can see that really this is a retest, so I didn't draw that, and you probably don't want to take any of these here, because this is for sure a retest of this green, or it could be a retest of this green channel, because we probably already had a break. But you could draw this on here, and it looks like it's got an overshoot on it. Overshoot, a couple legs up, same thing, but I just don't know. I don't see any real setups here anyway. So there's one at the key entry point, but after an overshoot, because I think if you draw this midline off the highs, you can still see there's an overshoot right there. So I don't think you want to take any of these trades regardless. This should be right there. I don't know how these move. Sometimes these move on you. I don't know why. Maybe you don't. I think it's if you don't get them anchored good. But drops down, lower high there, but it's not a reversal. Too choppy. Close outside. There's just nothing here. Maybe you take this second entry. Well, you can't even take that because it's the high is lower. I mean, this has been a strong uptrend, so I just don't see anything there you want to take. Then you get to working higher again. Close outside and a move higher. I like this one just because you get another reversal. It's close to these highs, but I still think there's room to get out there. You can see there's 2 points there, so there's enough room to get out. So I still like that one. Technically, it breaks lower right there, which I didn't notice that before. So your failure is really right there. Same thing. It just gives you more room. But you have to take that one on the engulfing bar. That's the only issue there. I don't think you'd have enough room if you wait for that one to close. Well, no, you don't have enough room if you wait for that one to close. So, but actually, I still wouldn't have a problem entering there because that's just an additional trap. And it's probably still going to make this new high in this one. So I'll mark this one green. And now you got a new high, so I'm not crazy about that one. And it does run on up, but then you're working lower. And I don't think you want to go short in here. I don't see any reason that I want to go short here. Maybe you argue there's a reversal here, so maybe there's a trap right there. Technically, you got another new high right there, and so you could have another trap right here, but that one just really looks too congested by that point. can see that. There's another second entry here, and that one is off that trend line. You could also call this a failure. So there's another one. Close to being blue, really. You could call that a failed breakout of that little congestion area. And it would be a first entry, second entry. So then, of course, you get your close outside. No way to go short there. You do get a triple test right here. And again, you get a new high right there. So it's a first entry, and when it breaks past that, that's a second entry. So triple test, second entry, maybe you take that. Once it starts chopping like this, I don't see anything I like. Takes off. There's another second entry here, but it's an inside bar. It does have matching lows. It is a double bottom. You can see the high, first entry, second entry. So it's another one. Maybe you make that green. There's a ton of them in here. Same thing here. Signal bar is not great. That signal bar is really too neutral. But you can see first entry, second entry. There is a higher low here on an engulfing bar. I don't know that you go long way up here. There's probably still room, but the problem with trading and engulfing is it's kind of congested, so it could break higher and trap you in and come back down and just keep going sideways or turn lower. So I don't really like that one. But we come back again, close outside, new low, and we do get a break outside here, and then you get a higher low. So, and there it goes again, and you technically you get another trend channel working up through here. I don't think you want to enter there though. There's a second entry right here. That really looks sideways in a drop lower, so maybe you wait on a higher low and you don't really get anything. We're coming back here. There's no reversal, just kind of sideways. You can't really trade this. I don't see anything. I'd want to trade anything in there. You do have this yellow channel coming down, but that's just too sideways. So, and then all of a sudden it takes off. And I like this one just because it's a failure. Technically it breaks lower right there, but notice you move up and you get a first entry, then you move up and you come back down here. That's the first time it really breaks higher above any of those bars, other than maybe there. So, and you could argue there's a hidden second entry in there, so maybe you take that one. And then I didn't see anything else I liked here. Again, I don't think you want to go short this close to the late in the day. There is a reversal here, but it doesn't set up really well. You can see it's the lower side of that channel. I think this is another one that I maybe drew from the low side first. Yeah, you can see how it's moving there. So I drew it again from the low. I believe I drew that from the low side first. And then I drug it up higher because you could get this really early if you draw it right there. So maybe I didn't draw that one from the other side. Maybe I drew that one this way. I don't know. But I don't like that reversal because you had this coming down through here. So I don't think you want to trade. If you took it, it works, but I didn't like it. It's just so close to late in the day, and the trend's been so strong. I just don't think it's wise to go short there. That's my problem with that more than anything. So that takes you into 2:30. So it's 30 minutes worth, and we a lot of price action, a lot of trades. I mean, there's just so many good trades. You don't want to risk a green one on a day like this, really. There's just so many easy, good trades that are just straightforward and with a very strong trend. And it's just go with the trend. Buy when it's going up like this. Skip the shorts, and when it's coming down like it was early, just stick with the shorts and don't be buying, and you'll come out a lot better off. So again, interesting day. Not much else I can say about it. It's just wild and crazy volatility. And even on this big strong trend, you can see the mixed trading. I mean, early on it was straight up, but then it kind of was mixed trading from really 11 o'clock into the close. It was fairly mixed, although the trend is still up there. Can't argue with it. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. We're 30 minutes here. It's gonna take forever to process and get uploaded. It's already late today. I'm late getting this done. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Hope you had a good week. Hope you have a good day tomorrow. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Uh, I mean, I'm not really sure what to expect tomorrow after today, but we'll see what happens. But I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.